The year is now 1913, and Niels Bohr is trying to solve a paradox about the structure of the atom. Our best model yet is the Rutherford planetary model, with a dense, positively charged nucleus and negatively charged electrons in orbit with lots and lots of empty space. This model is consistent with the results of Rutherford's gold foil experiment and with all of the experiments that came before it. But it also does not make sense. Opposite charges attract. We have a positively charged nucleus, negatively charged electrons. Shouldn't the electrons just spiral closer and closer to the nucleus until they crash into each other and the atom collapses? Because that's exactly what classical physics predicts. It also predicts that as the electrons get closer to the nucleus, orbital energy is released in the form of electromagnetic radiation, so the atom should also be continuously giving off light before it collapses. Niels Bohr was trying to solve this paradox. First, he decided to ignore the fact that these atoms should be unstable and continuously give off light because, well, atoms exist and do not continuously emit light. But you know what? Under specific conditions, atoms do emit light. It's not continuous, but it does happen. These are atomic emission spectra of a few elements. How can different elements emit light of different colors under specific conditions? Well, Niels Bohr wanted to figure out this too because it seems like a closely related problem. Bohr was a theoretical physicist, meaning his contributions to science were to apply rigorous math to rationalize and explain data from other people's experiments. Here's what he knew. Around the year 1900, Max Planck had come up with Planck's quantum theory. One of the key points was that energy isn't emitted or absorbed at just any energy level on a continuous spectrum, but it's quantized. That means it's emitted or absorbed in discrete units. To visualize what he meant, an example of a continuous spectrum of light would be a rainbow. Any wavelength or color is allowed. Quantized energy would result in a discrete set of wavelengths, meaning only a specific set of colors are allowed. Max Planck was talking about blackbody radiation, but this sounds a lot like atomic emission spectra. Then, around the year 1905, Albert Einstein extended Planck's idea of energy quantization to electromagnetic radiation, which includes visible light. He said that if you consider light as a stream of particles instead of a wave, and if those particles have discrete energy, it could explain a phenomenon he was studying called the photoelectric effect. Einstein's extension of quantization of energy to a different topic opened the door for people like Niels Bohr to do the same thing. So Niels Bohr was looking at atomic emission spectra and realized that they're showing discrete energy levels of photons, and that quantization of energy could explain both atomic emission spectra and the atomic structure of the hydrogen atom. Bohr proposed a new atomic model for the hydrogen atom. In this model, the energy of an electron in orbit is quantized, the same way that the photons that can be emitted are quantized. This electron can't have just any energy level. It can only exist at certain energy levels that are at fixed distances from the nucleus. The lowest energy level is called the ground state, or n equals 1, and it's closest to the nucleus. An electron can transition to a higher energy orbit if it absorbs a photon with just the right amount of energy. And when it transitions to a lower energy orbit, it's going to emit a photon with a specific amount of energy. The energy of a photon determines its color. So when we are talking about photons with specific energy levels, we are starting to talk about emission spectra. An emission spectrum is a unique set of wavelengths of light emitted by an atom when electrons that have previously gained energy, absorbed energy, release it. Here's how it works. Energy is absorbed from heat, electricity, or light, and electrons get promoted to a higher energy orbit. They don't stay there for long. They fall back down to a lower energy level, and as they fall back down, they emit a photon. Different elements have different emission spectra because their orbitals are at different energy levels. Have you ever wondered how astronomers know that stars on the other side of the galaxy are mostly hydrogen with some helium and small amounts of other elements? We've never sent a probe that far. How do they know? Well, it's by studying the emission spectra. Emission spectra are like fingerprints for chemicals. We classify these emission spectra based on the energy level where the electron ends up. So the Lyman series is when the electron ends on n equals 1. The Balmer series is ending on n equals 2. The Paschen series is ending on n equals 3. And for the hydrogen atom, the Balmer series ending on n equals 2 emits photons in the visible wavelength region. Now, the energy level of an electron depends on the Rydberg constant. And we have a few equations that we can use to calculate things pertaining to these energy levels. Now, this atomic model and these equations were groundbreaking. They established quantized energy of electrons in orbit. They helped explain atomic emission spectra, and Niels Bohr won the 1922 Nobel Prize in Physics. But we still have a problem. This model and these equations only work for atoms and ions that only have one electron. That means it works for an uncharged hydrogen, for helium with a +1 charge, for lithium with a +2 charge. It does not work for multi-electron atoms or ions, or let alone anything with bonds. So we are not done figuring out the structure of the atom. We are also still missing a subatomic particle. Thanks for watching Chemistry in a Nutshell. And remember to bore into that like button.